Hello there, everybody. Hollow Leon coming back at you again with a new build video. Full Berserkers Holosmith build with a decent amount of survivability. Should be able to get you through any amount of Path of Flames content. This is what I did to just finish the story. Sorry this video took so long as well. I had a lot of technical difficulties, actually corrupted files. It's my second time making this video, and we're going to make it count. Also, keep in mind, before we roll the intro, that you can skip to any part of this build video if you do not wish to watch the entire thing in the description below. So that way you can get right to the action, exactly what you are looking for. But if you are here for the whole time, I hope you enjoy this Holosmith ride. Alright everybody, welcome back. Very quickly we will go over, as always, the style of this build. So we'll go to our wardrobe. Really quick, we're doing the Bladed Mask Holosmith's Lucent Vent, which is when you get the Holosmith fully maxed out, you'll get it. Works out well with a heat-based thing, venting your heat. So I ran with it. Warbeast Jerkin, which this is a new skin from Path of Fire, one of the exotic armor skins, lots of fun. Bladed Gloves, Sneak Thief leggings, doesn't matter, and Flame Legion boots. And then for weapons, we have both sword and shield, the new, the War Gods skins, that's what it is, sorry. And we'll segue that straight into gear, so we have full Ascended Berserkers with Rune of the Scholar, just to be able to hit harder, especially when you first enter into an encounter. I have this just because I don't feel like changing it right now. It'd be really easy to change anyways. But I also recommend using Superior Sigil of Perception to get to a higher critical hit. You get up to about 61 when you have that thing fully charged. And but you do want to be only using this if you aren't going to be dying often, because as soon as you get dropped, you'll lose all of your stacks, and that's just a pain in the ass and not really worth it at that point. So consider switching this out for something else if you're really having trouble staying alive. But if you are having trouble staying alive, consider changing your food, which I will give another food option at the end when we go over it. So yes, as much Berserkers as we can. These are what our stats are looking like, unbuffed without any of our food. Not too bad. And we will move straight into the build. Alright, and for the build we have Explosives, Alchemy, and of course Holosmith. So we'll explain this really quick, what Holosmith does, the new mechanics. If you don't already know, you can go into your Photon Forge, which is your F5, and you get a whole new set of weapon skills and a meter reading for your heat, which is it doesn't act as a resource because you don't have to use it, but based on how much heat you've accumulated, it will change what your skills can do. So a lot of them activate once you get above 50%. You can even change this from 100 to 150, but I'll explain why we didn't a little bit later. So if you don't already know Holosmith, that's what this is. Alright, and this is reaching the heat maximum results in self-damaging explosion that deals damage proportional to your health and additional damage over time. Photon Forge is disabled until all heat is lost. So you do a pretty good bit of damage whenever this goes off, and you'll just have lots of things that are going to be firing numbers, whether they're below 50% health or anything, or if you're getting out of your heat. There's just lots of different ways to deal damage with this build. Light Density Amplifier. Photon Forge reduces incoming damage and has increased passive heat generation. So this is just a flat 15% damage reduction, and I really like it because we're trying to keep our heat high generally anyways, because most of the skills that we want to use above 50% heat. So I am fine with a little bit extra heat generation, because once we're out of it, that's just the way our rotation works well anyways. Gain health per unit of heat lost, which that's also great. So when you're out of it, on top of being able to heal with our elixir gun, which I'll get to that here in a little bit, you'll be healing as this is going back down, as you're cooling off before you re-enter Photon Forge. So this is where you get some of your survivability. Launch an arc of light at your foe, Light Strike Storm. I chose this because it also is classified as an explosion, which can cause vulnerability on your opponents, but it's just nice to be able to have a little bit of range. So I'll switch into Photon Forge. It changes your number 1, so you can have this ranged attack like that. Ooh, don't auto attack anything, please. But yeah, as you can see, there's a projectile that came out there. So if need be, you can do that and still hit pretty hard without switching to your elixir gun, which doesn't hit very hard. Oh, there we go. Switching to my gun again. Oh, sorry. All right. Laser's Edge, while Photon Forge is active and you are above the heat threshold, your outgoing damage is increased. So here's another one of the mechanics. That isn't just your skills, you'll be doing more damage while you're above 50% heat as well, so keep that in mind. Overheating now blasts damage to nearby foes and no longer deals its initial damage to you. So this is why we went with this, and that's why it said this in the beginning, that it does that 2,745 damage. And keep in mind, that's without a critical hit modifier, so this really can hit for like 6 or 7k, which is pretty awesome. Overheating now blasts damage to nearby foes and no longer deals its initial damage to you. So there's also that. You just take a little bit of burning damage, and heat cannot be lost except after overheated. But since we generate it really quick and we have a pretty good rotation, being out of it isn't so bad. We have other ways to heal, and this is just another way to deal extra damage. Alchemy. Gain Fury, Might, and Swiftness whenever you drink an Elixir B, obviously, but you get Elixir B if you go below 75% health, which is nice. Alright, moving straight on. Protection, Injection, gain protection when you are disabled. Just another way to get some good damage. Didn't care much for any of these other ones. I don't need to dodge it that often, and we don't have a medkit. Incoming conditions have a chance to convert to boons 100% of the time, every 15 seconds. Great stuff. And then this is really what gives us a lot of our survivability. You recover health every second while using an engineering kit, so that's this. One of the best things you can do is swap to 9 and use your number 4. It'll blast you way out of there. I'll probably use this in an example in the actual fight, but this will blast you far away so you can get to safety while laying down your number 4, and you can lay that down right on top of you. Ooh, nice, and it lets me lay it here. And then you can remove conditions with this while you're firing, just randomly. It's only has a 1/5 chance, because it's 20% chance to be considered a physical projectile finisher, if you can see that on the combo finisher field there. But it still will be able to get conditions off, and you usually will be out of the battle anyways and just running around to survive. So that's why I went with that, to be able to have that little bit of survivability and not go down, even though I'm a berserker build. It can get kind of scary sometimes, but do not forget to use your elixir gun. Alchemical tinctures, throwing or consuming elixirs removes conditions from those affected and gain increased concentration. So good for your team, but also just good for you to remove a condition. You can remove a condition here. And then I think this also removes condition. Nope, it does not. But if you're firing within it, it will, while you are being healed by it. Alright, incoming damage to you is reduced for each boon on you, and this oftentimes is a lot of boons. So this is just another huge flat damage reduction. So with this, you're 15% here, and this, if you activate it, well, it's another 50% either way, but the recharge is only 15 seconds if you actually get it up over 50, which is fantastic. So all in all, you can have up to about 70% damage mitigation with this, and you have a pretty decent amount of healing just completely on your own. That's why I love this build. This is really what makes the alchemy line, is what makes you survivable. So if you wanted to change that to do more damage, you have a good team, you probably should. And I don't have a suggestion for it currently, but just keep that in mind. All right, and then we run explosives for our last one. Set a time charge that damages foes when it explodes. And this is when you dodge, just an extra way to add some vulnerability to the team. A little extra damage when you're dodging, so why not? Your power is increased and your blast finishers grant might. So this is great if you know all your finishers. You can do a couple. Your F2 is a blast finisher if you're in a field, but there isn't a ton of that. But just that flat 120 power is pretty attractive on its own. Explosions cause vulnerability, and this is what I was talking about earlier. This will cause vulnerability, so just by auto-attacking with your number 1 while you're in Photon Forge, you'll be stacking vulnerability while doing a pretty good amount of damage. And this is what also helps us, since we are a full berserker build. Gain vitality and ferocity based on your power, which is 5% of each, which is good because we have a lot of power, which gives us a pretty good amount of health. So let's see if we had changed this to something else. Yeah, about another 2,000. I'll take that any day of the week. Well, there's also the ferocity, which allows us to hit harder with our critical hits. So deal increased damage to foes with vulnerability, and since you can cause it pretty easily, this is basically like another 10% damage increase buff. And then damaging foes below the threshold calls an orbital command strike to their location. So it's just another way to hit them in the face. It looks cool, but other than that, it's not all that viable. If you really wanted to change this, you could, but we don't have much condition damage, so, or well, any, except for my dumb shield. And you could do this if you wanted to trait this instead with Vigor and Dodge more often, but really, honestly, I like this. For most small encounters, it works and gets a little extra damage off on an enemy when they're below 50% health. So that is it for the actual build. We run Sword and Shield, in case you didn't know that, and the elixirs because of our extra healing properties, and the Condi removal because there is a lot of conditions. And then it's good to remember for both your 7 and 8 Spectrum Shield and Laser Disc. Oh, didn't mean. Oh no! Look at that. I was saving that dude for later to show you guys. So I think we're gonna do the rest of the build video over here. Oh shit. Okay. My bad. I was there for a very specific purpose. Man, look, this dude's pissed. Can he still hit me from there? Nope, he can't. Alright, so just ignore that annoying Hydra. So anyways, Spectrum Shield and Laser Discs, you want to be activating these while above 50% heat, if possible. And then your other, specifically Holosmith skill, aside from the sword ones obviously, are your Prime Light Beam, which is your ultimate, great for knocking people down. You're running a Condi build, this might be actually kind of cool too, but I haven't really messed with that too much yet. And I just really enjoy playing Berserker with Holosmith, which is not often. Berserker can be a pain in the ass at times. And then your Elixir Gun is your final skill, and we went over that a little bit earlier, but I'll show you what I'm talking about real quick before I get into this fight. If you're in a tricky situation, you can use your number 4 to get out of it. Have your 5 ready, put it underneath you, and you're going to be healing from this, your number 5, your heat going down, and when you fire your number 1, oh, right there, remove condition. You have a 1 in 5 chance of that as well, so a great way to recover from a dangerous situation. And then lastly, with food, I am running Superior Sharpening Stones and bowls of curry butternut squash soup to get harder hits, higher chance of critical hits also. But if you are having trouble running this, when I first was learning how to play it, you can use mango pies to make sure you stay alive. And you shouldn't have any trouble at that point. Alright, but here we are again. Let's get both these Hydras just for some fun. So when you're engaging in these fights, you really want to use your number 3 because it's going to give you quickness. This is another skill you can use while you're over 50% heat, but I use it to engage, and it'll generally be on cooldown whenever you get back out. Alright, so let's see how this goes with our 2 Hydras here. Let's try and get them together a little bit. Yeah, alright. So use your number 3 to engage. It'll give you that quickness for a little bit. Ooh, use that before 50%, but it's also your stun break. But don't forget your F4 is a stun break if you really need that. I'm trying to explain this as best I can. Woo! And that number 4 can hit really hard. I've seen it get up to 22k before. It's great stuff. Oh, you get in a bad spot like that. Ugh, well, first stun break. But here, just let me show you the power of running around and healing. So if you're ever in a bad spot, that's all you gotta do. And when you're ready to re-engage, bring out your sword and shield, get into Holosmith. Man, had to waste that again. And just watch out for all these CCs, oh my goodness. But I hope this is proving my point a little bit. Not really, but I am terrible at both talking and trying to explain what I'm doing at the same time. Or playing. See, I can't even use words. Just heal up. And re-engage whenever you need to. Alright, this is our final deeps train. Let's do it. Oh man, CCs. And, let's see how much this does. Not terrible. Okay, well, sorry for that terrible gameplay demonstration. I am really bad at trying to tell you what's going on while I'm playing. But as you can see, I was not playing well, and we're still able to survive 2 Hydras with that amount of CC. Pretty fun build. It'll be able to get you through Path of Fire. If you're trying to play Engineer on this new expansion launch, try this out and let me know what you think. I will be releasing more content soon. I am working on a Scourge PvE build, which is basically the same as the PvP build. If you do follow me, just bring that in with you. It'll do well. I'm messing with Sinister stuff and trying to get a condition-based Ascended set because I do not have that for light armor. But anyways, also, sorry, we are working on a warrior that should be a lot of fun and be able to solo a lot of stuff. It'd be pretty neat, so keep your eyes out. But if you enjoyed this, consider leaving a like, consider subscribing. We got a lot of stuff coming out soon, and I hope I will see you back on the channel again shortly.